Peter Pan is one of the most famous characters in literature, beloved for his mischievous spirit, youthful vigor, and fantastical adventures in Neverland. But despite his fairy tale-like qualities, some have wondered, is Peter Pan an elf? The question isn't as far-fetched as it seems. With his supernatural abilities, connection to the fairy world, and playful yet mysterious nature, Peter Pan does share traits with elves. However, a closer look at his original story and the folklore that inspired it reveals a more complex answer. Peter Pan was created by Scottish writer J.M. Barrie, first appearing in The Little White Bird in 1902, before starring in Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, in 1904, and Peter and Wendy in 1911. Barrie never explicitly refers to Peter as an elf, but he does describe him as something between a human and a bird. Additionally, Peter's ties to fairies, particularly Tinker Bell and the other inhabitants of Neverland, raise the question of whether he belongs to the broader family of magical beings, which includes elves. Elves in folklore and fantasy literature are often portrayed as immortal and possessing magical abilities. Peter Pan shares many of these traits, most notably, his eternal youth. Just like elves are often depicted as ageless beings, Peter Pan never grows up, making him seemingly immortal. Moreover, elves in mythology frequently wield magic, and Peter's ability to fly, aided by fairy dust, aligns with this characteristic. Elves in folklore are also deeply tied to nature. Peter Pan lives in Neverland, a wild, untamed land filled with fairies, mermaids, and other magical beings, where his playful personality mirrors the elven tricksters in numerous fantasy stories. Despite these similarities, Peter Pan is not traditionally classified as an elf. Barrie never describes him as such, instead emphasizing his connection to birds and fairies. Classic elves are often depicted as either tiny, fairy-like creatures, or tall, noble warriors, as in Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Peter, on the other hand, is portrayed as a regular boy, albeit with supernatural abilities. With that said, it can be argued that Pan is more closely related to the concept of fairies, which share close fantasy ties with elves. In Peter and Wendy, Peter reveals that fairies are born from a baby's first laugh, reinforcing the idea that he has strong ties to fairy magic. Some scholars even compare him to Puck, the mischievous sprite, also closely aligned with the elven concept, from A Midsummer Night's Dream, due to his love of pranks, ability to fly, and somewhat unpredictable nature. While Peter Pan shares some traits with elves, he is not one himself. Not technically. Instead, he is more accurately classified as a unique supernatural being that exists in his own literary mythos. Whether he's flying through the skies of Neverland, battling Captain Hook, or leading the Lost Boys on wild escapades, Peter Pan remains one of literature's most enchanting figures, elf or not.